This is Geek Revolution Radio,
a show for geeks by geeks.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Geek Revolution Radio. I am your host, Ryan Bennett, and with me, as always, is Mr. Will Hatton.
Good afternoon or evening or morning, I guess whenever you're listening to this.
Right. I realized last week when I entered the show, I did it differently and it threw you off. And I remember when we were recording last week, I was like, "What? How come he's just sitting there in silence?" And then I went back and listened to it, and I was like, "Oh, I totally did it different." I think some of the other podcasts I listen to start to wear off on me, and I forget how to do my own show.
How do I do this?
What is this again? Thanks everyone for listening. This is Geek Revolution Radio. As we said, we want to give a shout out to our friends, the Other Mike and Mike Show. Check them out at theothermikes.com. You can also check out ADO Radio out there in beautiful San Francisco, California. And our friends at Stupid Wankers. They're still doing a pretty good show over there. Me and Will were actually on the Other Mike and Mike Show just this last week talking we talked about a lot of stuff, a lot of movies, talked a little about music. We went on a pretty good tirade about baseball. So yeah, go over there and check that out at theothermikes.com. We were on episode 70. So what's going on, Will?
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun with those guys. They're pretty entertaining.
Yeah, for sure. I really like doing their show, and they're always a lot of fun. So what's new this week, Will? What's been going on?
Nothing much. Got super sick yesterday. Was puking all day long. Dude, I hate getting sick, and I especially hate throwing up. It's the worst.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm one of these maniacs that's only thrown up 3 times in my whole life.
Oh wow.
So I don't really know what it's like to throw up because it's been so long, but it doesn't look like a good time.
No, I threw up at work too, which is the worst because I had throw up all over my shirt and stuff. And the second time I threw up, my boss was like, "Dude, get out of here." I was trying to be tough, yeah, I could push through this, but no, not really.
I can power through. It's been really nice weather. I know our friends up in the north and back home in Utah have been getting a lot of snow, but it was 82 degrees here yesterday.
Yeah, that's how it was about that here too, here in Lubbock.
Yeah, it's been real nice. We're actually going to be getting into the backyard and getting some work done finally. So
nice.
I guess our 7 weeks of winter are over.
Yeah,
which is nice. So we threw up a new hypothetical on our Facebook page. We're going to after this episode's over. And this week's hypothetical. Well, before we get to this week's hypothetical, I guess we should talk about all the responses we got to last week's hypothetical. And if you remember,
a lot of response.
Yeah, last week's hypothetical was if you could pilot or captain any ship, which ship would you choose? We actually got a lot of responses over on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Geek Revolution Radio. Will, what were some of your favorite responses?
Mike W had a really good one. He said he would do the USS Enterprise because of replicators in the holodeck, which is something I guess I didn't really think about. Basically you can go to anywhere you want in history and it's all virtual reality. And I totally forgot about that. And that's spot on. He says he would go back to, Studio 54 circa 1986 with computers, cocaines, stuff like that. So he'd totally live it up, Studio 54 style.
That's funny. I like Derek Stark said the Falcon, so that when I get scared, I can hide and cry in the smuggler's holes.
Yeah, man.
Go hit the deck. I was actually surprised the number of people that said the TARDIS.
Yeah,
we got the TARDIS from, let's see, who was it? Matthew Poulter, and then my mom, Cindy C. Bennett, was one that brought it up. The TARDIS, is it a ship? Does it? I don't even know. I don't watch it, but
it is and it isn't. On the outside, it looks like just a police box. It's that blue box. It looks kind of like a phone booth, but on the inside, it's big. It's kind of weird how that works. So I don't know. I can appreciate people who like the show, who are geeks for it, but I watched 2 seasons and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I watched the one episode about the mannequins coming to life, and that was I don't know. I've been told I need to go and just power through a couple of them, but that was a weird show.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like that's what I keep hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Just power through. But I'm like, when does it get good?
Yeah. So one thing I thought was interesting is there were a lot of people going back and forth between the Galactica, the Enterprise, and the Falcon. But Mark Barnes said the Star Destroyer, hands down. And that we talked about that a little bit. The Star Destroyer, we don't. I guess we see a little bit of the inside, but we mostly just see like the prisoner cells, things like that.
Right.
Obviously, it's a gigantic ship. There must be a lot of fun stuff to do on it, right? You'd think, just based on its sheer size. I mean,
yeah, it's gigantic. You know, you got to figure they've got a lot going on there, but
it's a whole city on a ship.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
What's the one in the new movie called? It's called the. I just slipped my mind.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it all of a sudden either. Yeah, I don't know though. I kind of feel like the Star Destroyer, one of those like really large ships, would be really really difficult in terms of like you've got like 100,000 soldiers kind of at your command, which I guess is good.
Yeah.
But
well, it's one of those things where it's like there's a lot of little ships inside of it. It's called the Finalizer. Right. That's what it's called in episode 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where kind of like the Enterprise, it doesn't really land, or the Galactica, it doesn't really land anywhere. They shuttle people to the planet from this big ship, But I don't know. We got some pretty good responses, and it was kind of fun talking with everybody and finally figuring out who some of our listeners might be. We see the number of downloads we get every week, but we have no names or faces to put to them. We've been getting a lot of good reaction over at Facebook, so keep doing that. This week's hypothetical was one that Will, you came up with.
Yeah. So you asked me to put together a question, so I put together a list of like different questions I could do, and this one kind of stood out to me because today we're talking about Deadpool, and I don't know if I could ever spend a day with Deadpool, just because he's such a crazy character.
Yeah,
but I thought, well, what if you could spend a day with a Marvel character, what character would you choose?
Ooh, that's a good one. What did you come up with?
I've been thinking about it, and thinking about the different, because Marvel's, pretty big. You got like all the Avengers characters, you got X-Men, you've got just a ton of them, and I don't know. I think I'd probably pick somebody from the Avengers because I like their characters. X-Men is good too, but I don't know. I think I'd probably go with like, it's hard because I'm not like, I don't want to be like, well, this is my favorite character, but like who you want to
spend like time with, and like
like I don't know. It's a kind of in those regards, because I have favorites. I like different characters, but in terms of like the character, Tony Stark would be really interesting. I think he's just nuts. He's definitely, but I think he's also kind of, he would drive me crazy after a while. Like he's just so self-centered.
I'd probably put Tony Stark near the top of my list.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one person though that I just thought of actually now that we're talking about it. I would want to spend a day with Stan Lee.
Oh yeah.
And everyone could say, oh, he's not part of the Marvel character universe. Well, he's in every single movie. So yes, he is.
True.
As himself. So that's my answer. That would be really fun to spend. I got to meet him at Comic-Con, and he's just
right.
He's just such a nice guy, and he's so sharp still, even though he's getting up there in the age. But he just seems like he'd be a lot of fun to hang out with.
I think I know who I would pick. I would go with Star-Lord. Yeah, it'd be a fun day, I think.
Yeah, Star-Lord is a good one.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many good characters to choose from on this one. But
another one, like if I had to, top 3 is number 1 would be Stan Lee, and then 2 or 3 in any given order would be Tony Stark, and my other one would be actually Rocket Raccoon. So that's kind of funny that you said Star-Lord. Star-Lord would be cool too, but Rocket Raccoon just seems like my kind of humor, you know?
Yeah.
Plus, he'd get you into some sort of shenanigans, and
Oh yeah.
you know, that'd be fun. What about if you had to pick a villain? Who would you spend your day with?
Jeez, I gotta think about the villains here for a second because I feel like in terms of the movies, like the villains are all kind of, you know, I don't know. Like, this is a tough decision. Probably Loki.
Ooh, that's a good answer. Yeah, that's a really good answer. I didn't think about it. My first thought was Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom would be kind of fun to spend a day with, or maybe even like Green Goblin or something like that. But I don't know. Now I'm kind of on your side.
Well, I got to think about a villain that is actually somewhat engaging or would be interesting to be around versus like so evil and hateful that like it would be kind of miserable. You know what I mean?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I picked Doctor Doom is because Doctor Doom, he just wants to take over the world. He's not a villain.
Yeah.
He just wants to take over the world. He's not a criminal, I should say. He is a villain, but he's not a criminal. He just, wants to take over the world, and there's shenanigans to do that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to put this up on our Facebook page by the time you hear this. So go over to facebook.com/Geek Revolution Radio and let us know if you could pick any character in the Marvel Universe, and that's film, comics, whatever. Who would you spend it with and why? So head over there.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
We wanted to talk a little bit while we're kind of on the discussion of Doctor Who. You put on our show notes that you wanted to have a short discussion on Doctor Who and why it's so important and you are so popular. And you said that you recently watched a couple seasons.
Well, no, it was a while ago. I watched I got all the way into the third season and I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure out why it's so popular, but it's huge, man.
Yeah.
People love it. Comic book conventions, there are tons of Doctor Who. A lot of people love the show. I have family that likes it, friends that like it, and I can't figure it out. I tried to push through, and that's what they say is like, you just got to push through till it gets really good. And I never got to the part where it was really good.
Now, when you say you watched like seasons 1 and 2, like, because it's been on TV for like a long time, right?
So it's been like, I guess they did a reboot, if you would, like probably about 10 years ago, maybe less. And so this new generation has been going on for about 7 to 10 years. Because I think they're in their 7th or 8th season.
Oh, okay.
But it was like it was a show back in like the 60s or 70s. It had like a couple seasons back then, and so this is
it started like I'm looking on IMDb, and it looks like there's like a new. It's kind of like Battlestar Galactica, where there's a version of Doctor Who that started in 2005, and that's considered probably what you saw of season 1. I'm guessing.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right. And they're somewhat connected. They're somewhat not, and it's weird. They have different guys playing the Doctor. Every couple seasons, they bring in a different person, and I've liked some of the characters that they've had as the Doctor, but like the show itself, it just doesn't do it for me. Like it's too cheesy.
This is Christopher Eccleston. Is he the one that's the doc? He's the Doctor. It looks like in the first few, right?
Yeah, he was like the first one. Matt Smith has been it. This definitely has some really good people as Doctor Who, but I don't know. Like, I just kind of feel like I don't know. Like, I just there's things I like about it and things I don't.
Right.
And
I've heard some people say that you got to pick it up with Matt Smith, like when he was the Doctor.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I've heard that too, but I don't know.
I've got a lot of other stuff to watch. I'm actually kind of.
That's my problem. It's like there's so much better things to watch.
I'm actually like I'm going through right now. I'm watching The Wire on HBO.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that, but it's definitely a show that's a lot of people talk about as almost in the same breath as Breaking Bad, and I can kind of see why it is that way, because it's definitely a really, really interesting drama to watch. I've really liked it so far. So
Yeah, no, the first we watched the first season, really liked it. We just got distracted just because, like you said, there's just so much good stuff on TV right now.
yeah. So speaking of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul returned this week.
Oh yeah,
did you get a chance to watch it?
dude, I love that show. I love Bob Odenkirk.
It's so good, right?
Just awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that it's kind of interesting because usually spin-off shows don't do well at all.
right,
But
right.
this, like when they announced this as a spin-off show, it made perfect sense. Like more than anything else, even more than a spin-off show of what's his name's character. Gosh, it's been so long since I've seen Breaking Bad. Aaron, what's his name? Even more than
Aaron Paul, like
even more of a spin-off of Aaron Paul's character, Jesse. It makes more sense to do a spin-off of Saul, because Saul is, as we're seeing, has got a very storied past.
yeah, definitely.
And the thing that's exciting about it, I was watching Talking Saul, which is the Chris Hardwick thing he does after the show.
Didn't have a chance to watch that one, but yeah.
He was talking with Vince Gilligan and the other writer, I forget his name, but they really have no idea where the show is going. They said it's a really, really hard show to write because there's so many options, and it's kind of interesting because you know where he's going to end up. But on the same hand, they didn't seem to rule out the fact that at some point, Better Call Saul might transition into a post-Breaking Bad show. Like right now, it's pre-Breaking Bad events, right?
Right.
And they give you kind of some scenes and some Easter eggs of him after Breaking Bad, working at the Cinnabon and all that. But they said, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that it will transition into a sequel series from Breaking Bad, which would be really interesting because then that gives you the chance to see kind of where the fallout of Walter White left everybody. Maybe he gets back in contact with Jesse, or
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's the thing about it. And I mentioned that to my wife while we were watching. I'm like, I really wonder if, later on in this series, if they ever focus more on after, because you were seeing, him after as this guy on the run. I like the black and white.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely depressing. You see, like he's I think in his mind, he's reliving, the man of former glory. So I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see him go that route.
Absolutely. And I brought that up to bring up The Walking Dead returned this last week.
Oh man.
I gotta say, Will, and I talked with Mike W about this. We were talking about it on his show a little bit, how Mike wasn't all that excited for it to come back because he said it had been getting kind of boring. And I saw he put on Facebook after the episode, and I agree with him that this is perhaps the best episode of The Walking Dead they've ever done.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
I couldn't believe it. Like, first of all, it definitely had to be the most expensive, right? When you look at all the effects and everything that was going on, I mean, they lit the whole little river thing on fire, in the neighborhood, and the number of extras they needed, because it's where they left it last season, where the little town they're living in was run over by zombies, and wow, it was just such a good episode.
No, seriously, I absolutely loved it. I went and watched it again later this week just because I loved it that much. Like I agree. Like the very first thought I had, this is like maybe one of the best episodes of the whole year, or the season, or the whole series.
I think it's the best of the series, honestly. There's so many things. The first 5 minutes of the thing, like when they run into Negan's gang and then they all just explode.
Oh man,
that was mind bending. I was sitting on my couch and I jumped up off my couch like, holy, like I didn't know what happened. Yeah. And then you got Daryl standing there with a rocket launcher and you're just like, holy crap.
Oh man, I know, that set the tone for the show in terms of its awesomeness. I feel like everything from there just built up on itself.
Yeah. And I don't want to give away any the major stuff that happens in it, but a lot of the stuff that has happened in the comic books is finally coming to light in the show, specifically surrounding the main characters.
I think the thing that I loved most about the show was just, the coming together as a community, or as the people, like watching, Rick, going crazy. Like, I don't want, like, again, like you said, I don't want to give away too much, but just seeing him, like, at first go crazy, I'm just going to kill a bunch of zombies. Then, everybody else coming around him and, like, actually, like, putting in their own effort to help fight. I thought that was really cool. I really liked that. It was like really, because, like, oh man, this, these people are actually coming together.
Yeah, well, there is a point in the comic book, and I think this is where they're getting in the show, where they've, one thing that's always bothered me about the TV show is that they always run and hide from the zombies. They don't, it's like, I almost look at it like a pest. If you want to get rid of the pests, you got to start killing them. You know what I mean? So the fact that they're always avoiding them never really made any sense to me. And there's a point in the comic book where Rick, finally says, all right, we're basically going to start, making zombie concentration camps, and we're going to start getting rid of these things and purging them from the earth, And it kind of seems like in the show they're getting finally to that.
Because I want to say Alexandria in the comic book, there aren't any zombies for like a 2-mile radius or something like that, because they've killed them all.
Yeah. I mean, and letting them all pile up on the outside of the walls didn't work for them at the prison, and is not working for them here either, Right. And it's one of those things where it's like, geographically, how many zombies are in the, 100 square feet or 100 square miles of where they're at? There's probably a couple 100,000, and if you worked, enough over 6 months or so, you could purge that entire area. Yeah. To the point where making runs and stuff like that wouldn't be as big a deal, and you definitely would reduce the risk of herds too, which is, as we've seen in the show, is a big deal. So, right. It'll be interesting to see where they go now that they've finally united, and I'm real excited for the rest of the season. And they keep throwing in trailers for Fear the Walking Dead, which I'm really looking forward to as well. Oh yeah, no, that show was really good. I think Mike W. was talking about how he really liked that one when we were on his show. Mm-hmm. I have to agree, like, that show is great because I feel like it gives you kind of an origin sense to it all. Like, this is how things went to, hell in a handbasket. Yeah. While Rick was asleep. Yeah, because when we watch The Walking Dead, he just wakes up after the fact, and the world as he knows it is already gone. So let's get to some geek news this week. So, Star Wars Episode 7 has started filming. Did you see this video that they put up on YouTube? 8. Or sorry, Episode 8. Did you see this video they put up?
I've watched it like 10 times this week.
I think I've watched it 5 or 6 times at least, because it's the perfect... I love that Disney and the people over at Lucasfilm, and I have to think this is like Kathleen Kennedy doing this mostly, but I love that they're not trailers for the movie. It's just here is a video from the production set of us making Star Wars, and it's got enough Easter eggs in there where it feels like a trailer, but it's also, like, for me, it's like really inspiring to watch it, because they revealed in this new video that they're starting Episode 8 right where 7 left off, with her handing Luke the lightsaber, and they basically reshot that whole scene on that island, and it's and then Ryan Johnson gets up there and goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Episode 8." And I'm sure for him I know Ryan Johnson's a huge Star Wars fan, and I'm sure for him as a director, that's as exciting, or maybe even more exciting than me hearing him say that, because he's actually there directing it, Right. But it's so cool that we're living in a time when, like, these people that became filmmakers because of their love for Star Wars are now making the new Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah, no, this is really exciting. Like, I loved watching it over and over again, just because I don't know, like, I got chills watching it, just because it's this reality, like, hey, the next one's coming, like, it's just this joy. And not only is the next one coming, but there's one that's going to be in between. Like, they haven't shown anything for Rogue One yet, not even a trailer. Like, it's crazy. No. I can't believe they haven't shown a teaser or anything yet, because
We're what, 10 months away, and they haven't shown anything.
Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy. I'd figured we'd see something by now.
Yeah. Oh well. It's just one of those things where it just builds the excitement for me, you know.
Oh yeah.
I'm just really, really excited about, you know, where the universe is going. And, you know, every week I try not to, I'm kind of took a page out of your book, Will, and I'm trying not to, when I see stuff that's like huge spoilers, I don't read any of that kind of stuff because I don't want to be gigantically spoiled for, you know, the Star Wars movies, especially on major plot points, because, you know, as we saw in episode 7, it would have definitely ruined the movie.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll read every now and again some, you know, here or there things. And every time I read an article about, you know, the possibility of Darth Vader playing a key role in this next movie, it just makes me endlessly excited because it's been done completely in secrecy if it has been done. Because nobody knows anything about Darth Vader right now. As far as, like, you know, no actors come forward and said he's playing him. We haven't heard, like, seen any pictures of the suit, nothing, you know. And that thing's already in the can. I mean, I'm sure they're pretty much done. They're probably doing all the post stuff on that. They better be doing all the post stuff on that movie. It comes out in 10 months, but it's just really exciting. And I actually, after I watched the Star Wars Episode 8 video, I went over to, this was on Monday morning that it dropped, and I went over to our website, geekrevolutionradio.com, and kind of wrote a blog post about how excited I am and stuff. So if you want to check that out, you can go over there and read it. But I essentially bore my testimony of the Force, as I tend to do a lot on this show. So, Will, you went and saw another movie this last weekend, right? Other than Deadpool, which we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so we went and saw Deadpool in the afternoon, and then in the evening we went and saw Zoolander 2. And I gotta say, I was a really big fan of the first Zoolander movie.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know, like I think me and my best friend at the time, like, we're really into it. We loved all the little jokes, like just loved the movie. Thought it was great. Was somewhat excited about the new movie. I thought, you know, this will be fun. You know, I like the character. I love the movie. You know, this will be reliving the fun. So I go and watch Zoolander 2. And I gotta say, my wife hates Ben Stiller. She's not a big Ben Stiller fan, but she, you know, we went and saw it anyway. She definitely didn't like the movie, and I was really, really disappointed. I didn't like it at all. Like, I thought it was.
Oh, really? So it was no good.
No, this movie just fell short so many times. It wasn't funny. Like, the times that it was funny, like, just didn't land very long. Like, you'd laugh a little bit or you chuckle, but you weren't like just painfully, you know, laughing so much. Like, it just, like, the laughs weren't there. Will Ferrell's character is only like in the last quarter of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kristen Wiig, who I really love, she's hardly in the movie, but she's in the trailers. It's just, you know, just a, you know, like, if you'd watched the first movie and all the jokes that were in that movie, you can't retell a joke and expect it to be funny again.
So that's what they did in this one. They tried to basically redo it.
Yeah, it's just saying the same jokes, but not as good or not as funny.
Mm.
Yeah,
it's definitely not been doing well in the box office either. It's made a measly, not even $20 million domestically,
right?
And only 10 overseas.
Yeah, it's definitely got some issues. I think people are saying, you know, come out and say it's just not good. Like, I think on Metacritic, it's like in the red. Like, it's just not well received. A lot of people don't like it.
What's it at on Rotten Tomatoes? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But yeah,
I'll surf over there too.
I was really disappointed with it. I thought it fell short in so many ways. Yeah. And I kind of knew it was destined for something. It's 23% on Rotten Tomato. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I knew it was problematic when I was watching Saturday Night Live this last week, or the week before it came out, and Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller's characters came on the show during their news segment. and were really not funny. Like they were stiff. It wasn't funny at all. And I kind of feel like when they greenlit this movie, it was based on this idea that, well, hey, everybody loves the sequel that's, 10 years later, we can kind of bank on the fans that like the movie. But I kind of feel like that plan doesn't always work, especially in this case.
I feel like the marketing fell apart on this one pretty solidly, because if they were going to put Justin Bieber in it, that would have been a funny Easter egg to not show in any of the previews.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To like just have him in the movie. Like you'd be like, holy crap, that's Justin Bieber, like watching the movie. But putting him in the previews, then I'm like, oh, what is Justin Bieber like in this movie now? Or like, I don't know. Was he just in the beginning? Like you would?
Yeah, it was exactly like I said. He was in the beginning. He died right away, and that was it. Like there was no like reference to him. I mean, they said, "Oh, he's dead," but I mean, like he himself wasn't on.
Well, that's interesting though, because they made it seem like Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig were also going to be in the whole movie, and it sounds like from what you're saying that they weren't really.
No, and like I look back and I'm just thinking like the things that I didn't like about the movie. It was like, do you remember how like in the first movie, Owen Wilson's character is like kind of crazy, Western medicine type, Western philosophy. Mm-hmm. He basically has like an orgy with like a bunch of weird characters.
Yeah.
They took that concept and turned like the people that he has an orgy with into this like has like this relationship with the whole orgy, like they're his traveling like relate like his girlfriend or something like that. And like it just wasn't that funny. Like it's basically like taking one joke. In my mind, it's like you take a joke that's a minute long and try to stretch it out for 10 minutes. Like it just doesn't do it for me.
It just didn't land, is what you're saying. It just was
definitely not.
Well, that's too bad. Hopefully, I like it, Ben Stiller. I'm not like your wife. I like a lot of the movies that he's done too. He's done a lot of really good movies. Especially as a writer and director of most of those movies. But hopefully, obviously this movie's not doing well and it's not being received well either. So hopefully he can learn from it and bring us something maybe original, or if he's going to do a sequel of something else like Tropic Thunder, he does it the right way.
Yeah, and I think
that's always the hard balance with sequels, though, especially with comedies, right?
Oh yeah,
like where do you go?
It's hard to tell the same joke over again. You almost have to find new stuff, something different.
All right, well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to talk for the back half of the show all about Deadpool. Me and Will both saw it this last week. We've got a lot of kind of funny reactions from you guys to share on our Facebook page, so stick around. This is Geek Revolution Radio.
Foolish mortals, if you value your souls, you can reach Attention Deficit Order Radio on iTunes and SoundCloud under Attention Deficit Order Radio by email at AdioRadio0@gmail.com, on Facebook under Attention Deficit Order, on Twitter at AdioRadio, and at MomoBroadcasting.com.
Hello, you know me. I am Ben, and you're listening to Geek Revolution Radio.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, wait. We're
What?
doing this over again.
That was perfect.
No.
You didn't, what?
Okay, hold up a second.
Hello?
No.
What?
Okay, here, I'll
What?
cue you in, and we'll go
You do
down.
not cue me in.
Okay. I'm not
Hello,
trying to say
I
anything.
work for ADO Radio, and I'm trying to do a plug for Geek Revolution Radio.
Okay, I'm gonna start it right now. Ready?
Okay,
Go.
ready? Hello, this is Bad. You know me. I am from ADO Radio, and I am promoting Geek Revolution Radio.
We gotta do
Right?
this again. One more time.
Is that the way it goes?
No, you did it wrong.
What?
No, okay, just Geek Revolution Radio.
Okay.
Make it legible.
All right.
Okay.
What are you making fun of my speech?
No, I'm just enunciate. It's
I do
not
one
beyond
take
your
and one
grasp,
take
dude.
only.
Okay.
Under protest. All
Okay.
right, go ahead, go. I'm ready. You all know me. You know what I do for a living? I'm Bane. I'm from ADO Radio, and you're listening to Geek Revolution Radio. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Mike W.
I'm Mike T.
And we're from the Other Mike and Mike show over at theothermikes.com. And right now, you're listening to Geek Revolution Radio. Bitches!
Hey, yeah, I wanna shoot, baby, shoot.
Hello and welcome back to Geek Revolution Radio. I'm your host Ryan and I'm here with Will and we are about to discuss Deadpool. So I'll give you a spoiler alert right now. If you haven't seen Deadpool or you don't want to be spoiled, I don't know if there really are a lot of spoilers for this movie, but we're going to be talking all about Deadpool in this segment and we're going to be talking about the movie and what happened and yeah. So Will, let's start right off. We haven't talked about whether we liked it or not since we both saw it. Did you like the movie?
Dude, I loved it. I thought it was great.
I did too.
In terms of superhero origin stories, this has to be probably one of the best ones. I felt like it wasn't too in your face about like, this is how he got his superpowers.
Right.
I felt like this is a pretty good story.
Yeah, it was interesting because in this movie, they kind of started with that scene that leaked, the like test footage.
Yeah.
They started with that, and then they he went back basically, and he kind of narrated the film and went back and was like, "Oh, by the way, here's how I got there." And they were real brief about the origin story, which I liked. I don't like when they spend an entire trilogy of films on an origin story like Spider-Man has.
Yeah, like you got like half of the first movie is just the origin.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case with this one.
Like how many times have we got to watch Batman's parents die? We know the story. We're good on it. We know. But yeah, I mean, I really liked it a lot, and I thought it was exactly what it needed to be and what it should have been. It was definitely interesting seeing a hard rated R superhero movie because I think it really worked for it. Honestly, I thought, there was talks about, Ryan Reynolds had to kind of fight with the studio to get this thing to be rated R. And I'm glad they did.
Well, yeah, and I think we've posted a lot of stuff on our Facebook page about the reality of the studio constantly trying to battle or fight this notion of an R-rated movie, not knowing what to do with it. I read an article about the director and writer who had put this script together, and the studio was like, "Yeah, we like you, we like." What you're doing, you got a lot of good energy, but we don't know what to do with this. This just isn't going to work.
And not any studio. This is Fox we're talking about because let's place blame where blame is due.
Oh yeah. And so it just baffles me because you wrote this thing and apparently it was pretty much accurate from what he wrote then. Cut to 10 years later or whatever when they actually get it greenlit.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not 10 years. I think he wrote it 2008, 2009.
Right.
And it brings in $136 million in its opening weekend. It's like, Fox, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Don't question what the fans want,
Yeah, that's a thing that's so frustrating to me. I mean, it's not like he can shop this around to other studios. Fox owns the rights to Deadpool. That's it. It's a done deal. And I think this movie is a perfect example of how little Fox knows about its viewers. about people that want to see these types of movies, because you mentioned how much it made. I'm looking at Box Office Mojo right now. It's been out for, what, 8 days now? How many days has it been?
Yeah, today is the 8th day.
8 days. It's made $196 million domestically.
Oh, wow.
It's going to cross the 200 million mark today, easily. Not to mention, it's raked in another 153 foreign. It's up to almost $350,000 or $1 million. That's like that's Iron Man money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's huge. It's the highest grossing Marvel film that Fox has ever had. It's beating all of the X-Men movies. Yeah. So, the fact that Fox never had, any confidence in this thing, and basically Ryan Reynolds and some of the, few marketers they put on this at Fox had to, go. I mean, Ryan Reynolds was all over the marketing for this thing because he knew that Fox wasn't going to do anything, So he was promoting it left, right, and everywhere he could. And the marketing on this thing was perfect. Releasing it on Valentine's Day, like I said, was perfect because all adults are going to movies on Valentine's Day and they're not taking their kids, which I think had a lot to do with the success of this movie. And I mean, we're living in a place now where, there is a rated R movie that's not for kids that is making huge money. And I think we've always wanted a movie like this. And, there was arguments that like, the Blade movies in the 90s or whatever. And, The Punisher was rated R and those didn't do well. That was before the new era of Marvel movies. That was before, arguably Iron Man 1, I think is kind of where it started. I want to see more movies like this for certain characters.
Oh yeah, no, it's the thing. I feel like there are movies and characters that deserve the R rating, and there's movie and characters that deserve a general population, like a PG-13.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying by any stretch I want to see like a rated R Avengers or anything like that.
Right. I think it was perfect for Deadpool because he's such a crazy character who is very vulgar, and I felt like they did a really good job of like the way they built this character, as this is who he is. Whereas I feel like, I don't think you would get the same effect with a Thor movie that was like on that level, Like I think it works perfectly for Deadpool. I think there are other characters in the the Marvel universe that, like, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Daredevil show on Netflix.
Yeah.
I feel like that show has it could be rated R if it was a movie.
Yeah. Well, and Netflix has kind of gone that direct. I don't know if you watched Jessica Jones, but the couple episodes I've watched of Jessica Jones, it establishes itself right out of the gate as this is if this were a movie that was rated, it would be rated R for sure.
Yeah, and I think those characters work in those regards. Like I think it works for them. I think the dark, edgy nature of the character in the series that they've been written, it works. So I don't know. I think it shows how you can have success and not have to require, that soft PG-13. Like it has to be that way, because I don't think the movie, like I think like if you went in and cut it out some of the really hard R aspects of the movie, it's not as good. It doesn't hold up as well.
Well, you don't have the movie, really. I mean, a lot of the stuff, you definitely don't have the comedy that was in this movie.
The comedy's gone.
And the thing I haven't read, I've only read maybe like 2 or 3 Deadpool comics in my life. Most of my exposure to Deadpool is actually in the Spider-Man comics. So he's not the adult version that he is in a lot of his comic books that are, Deadpool comic books. But from what I've heard from people that read Deadpool comic books, this is probably one of the closest graphic, right off the pages of the comic to the film movies that's been made out of all of the superhero movies. So that's I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I keep thinking about like if you were to take stuff out of the movie, you might take out a lot of the sex scenes, and I don't think you would lose as much with that. But I think the violence is very on par for what Deadpool is.
Mm-hmm.
The comedy, the wittiness of the character, like all of
the
that.
Dirty jokes. I liked all the dirty jokes, and like one of my favorite things in that first scene in the movie is when he's kind of like Wolverine. For those of you that don't know, he kind of regenerates his health or whatever. And one of my favorite things is when he gets shot right up his butt, and he's like, "Oh, right up Main Street," and then they show it, and it looks like his beehole, but it's a bullet hole. It's so like that to me was so funny. I was laughing. My wife thought it was really funny too. She really enjoyed it.
When he cuts his hand off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and his hand's growing back, and it's like the size of a baby's hand.
Yeah.
He's like stroking this woman's face with his little baby hand. It was probably one of the funniest things I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was wondering how that's going to work. Like when he cut off his own hand, and I was like, what is he going to, does he grow it back now? Like, how does that work? And then I'm glad that they actually showed that because, for movies where this happens, there is going to be that awkward phase where like your hand's a baby hand.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny, and it didn't feel like it was too long either, which I liked. I felt like it was exactly the right length. Timing. And, I know that Fox didn't spend a whole lot of money on this movie. This is not, this is not going to be like your Avengers or even your Iron Man budget movies where they're, $250 to $350 million to make them. I think this one was like right around 125. I'm sure Ryan Reynolds didn't take much of a paycheck because it seemed like with this movie, Ryan Reynolds really wanted to correct what they did in the Wolverine movie with Deadpool. And I can't blame him because they really messed up that character. And,
it was really weird. Like, you went from the beginning where it was all right in Wolverine, it was okay. He was this kind of wisecracking character, and then it really went down a weird route and like made him like the super villain. I was like, oh, that's just really weird.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with that, but it kind of seemed like Ryan Reynolds had a personal vendetta to get back to it and do it the right way, and not only do it the right way, but I love the fact that they made fun, like it was like meta in a way where there were times where he would look at the camera and break that fourth wall. And then there were times where he was making jokes about Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I love that.
Or about Green Lantern. When they take him into the thing and they're about to, basically inject him with this stuff to make him a superhero, he says, whatever you do, just don't make the suit animated in green. And I was just like, wow, that was a dig right at Green Lantern.
Right.
And I love that kind of stuff though, because for those of us, if you're going to this movie, you're probably somewhat deep into the comic book, movie universe anyway. But stuff like that was what made this movie great. Stan Lee's cameo, he was the announcer at the strip club.
Right.
Like just stuff like that was so funny to me. It was perfect.
Yeah. I love that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was like, okay, so Stanley's somewhere in this movie. Of all the places, he's the DJ at a strip club. I thought that was hysterical.
Well, and honestly, I think this is probably the longest cameo he's had in any of the movies because they showed him for a minute and then he was doing the voices in the background when they were calling him up, and like I really liked it. I thought it was a really because I always wonder like one of these days he's not going to be around to do cameos anymore, and I always wonder like, is this going to be the last one? Is he going to get a chance to do another cameo? So the fact that they keep making them better than the last ones it always adds like another element to it for me. Is if they do a cameo with him, how good is it, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe for another show we need to put together like a top 10 list of our favorite Stan Lee cameos, because I really like the one he did in Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
creepy old man.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes they just do it almost in passing, where they don't show him hardly at all. But another joke I really liked in the movie that was, kind of one where he broke the fourth wall is when he meets up with the two X-Men and they say, we're going to take you to see Professor X. I don't know if you caught it, but he said, which one are we going to go see, Stewart or McAvoy? Meaning those are the two actors that had played, in Days of Future Past. Those were the two actors that played the different Professor X's, and he didn't call them by their character names. He called them by the actor names, And it was one of those things where I was just sitting there. It's almost like watching an episode of Family Guy where you're like, aha,
We had the unfortunate circumstance of sitting next to a guy that had a really obnoxious laugh that was distracting in the theater. So half the time we didn't catch the little one-liners like that were like really quick. Mm-hmm. So like I almost want to go back and watch it again just to catch so many of the little jokes that he says, because he says a lot of them really quickly.
Yeah, and offhandedly, like backhandedly a lot of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is this movie will have a lot of, I was talking about it with one of my coworkers. This movie will have a lot of value for going to see it again because there's so many little things you probably missed.
Yeah. I love the little comment about, it's weird, we keep seeing the mansion, but you two are the only ones here, as if like, the studio couldn't afford more X-Men.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That was amazing because it's like they're basically, he said in the movie what we were all thinking as viewers of the movie, right? We're like, who are these two X-Men haven't been in anything. The one of them barely is an X-Man at all, but it was so funny. Like I really enjoyed that type of comedy, and I hope that Fox can kind of take a page out of their own book and go, this kind of stuff really does work, and the movie would have been better if instead of a cardboard cutout of Hugh Jackman's face on his face at the end of the movie, if they actually would have had Wolverine in it, instead of Colossus or whatever the girl's name was, it gives a chance for some of these characters that honestly would do well in their own rated R movie. It would give a good chance for them to kind of air that part out for the fans that want it. There's been a lot of rumors going around this week, and I don't know if they've been necessarily confirmed yet, but I think they're doing one more Wolverine movie. Hugh Jackman said he'll do one more, a third one, and there have been rumors circulating that they're going to make it rated R, which, like you mentioned, there are some characters that you don't want to see a rated R movie from, but the Wolverine is one that I do want to see a rated R version from because his Wolverine Max comics and a lot of the adult comics they do with Wolverine or when he appears in the Deadpool comics are really, really good.
Yeah.
And it just seems like the Wolverine would do well in that universe. And, I don't know if making a Wolverine movie rated R is, I'm okay with it if they decide they want to do with it, but I would have rather have just seen instead have the Wolverine be the sidekick in Deadpool.
It would have been really interesting. I think I didn't mind the Colossus and the Mega Teen. Like I don't honestly can't think of like what her name was in the movie. It was like Ultra Super Mega Bomb chick, something like that.
Yeah,
I liked her character, but I agree. I felt like they could have done a little bit more to have more of an actual cameo from some of the other X-Men characters, especially Wolverine.
Yeah, or Cyclops. Cyclops would have been a good one to have in there too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think maybe because we if you stick around for the after the credits, you learn that they're going to make a sequel. I mean, we found out like 2 days before the movie came out that they were greenlighting the sequel. So
they actually greenlit 2 sequels, 2 and 3.
Oh, really?
And
really?
That scene there at the end, they actually, I read online that they only shot that scene for the end of the movie where like, oh, by the way, we're coming back and making another one. They only shot that a couple weeks ago when they did find out that they were getting greenlit for a second and third one. Because then they said, okay, well, what we need to put a post-scene credits. What are we going to go with? And Cable, right, is who they said is going to be in the next one.
Yeah, that's what he said there at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Cable.
I know a little bit from the cartoons, but not a whole lot. I thought I loved the little nod to Ferris Bueller.
Oh, that was great.
That.
Yeah, that was great.
A little post-credit thing. I thought that was pretty funny. What are you still doing here? Get out of here.
Yeah, and my wife said that she thought if it wasn't the actual house, that scene that they were in was definitely recreated to be exactly the same as Ferris Bueller's.
Oh yeah.
At the very end, it's exactly the same. And I love that he ended it with, he was about to leave and then he stops back and goes chicka chicka.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
It was really good, and it just, even the post screens or the post credits scene, even that went along with the tone of the rest of the movie as far as the comedy of it all. What was I guess you're less into the dirty, raunchy comedy than I am. Did you witness like any people being offended and leaving or anything like that?
Well, I didn't. I kind of wasn't like staring at the audience, but I was, somewhat watching to see if anybody had left or anything like that. Nobody left at our screening, but I remember my boss, one of my bosses at work said within the first 10 minutes of their screening, somebody walked up and got out. And I've seen like numerous posts on Facebook talking about people doing the same. Like, I can't believe this is, how could they not tell us that this was, a hard rated R or whatever? I'm like, you got to be an idiot,
Yeah, I actually kind of going along with that discussion. I posted a picture on our Facebook page about, and I put as a comment, it's rated R, people, use your heads. And it's somebody commented on Facebook, some post, I don't know who it is. I just posted the picture. It says, well, had to leave Deadpool shortly into the movie. Should have realized beforehand that it would have been too adult for a 9-year-old. At least the tickets were only $5. Live and learn. And then somebody in the comment said, I heard someone else say that thing. They should give parents some type of warning or give a better rating. And then the comment on that, it says, you mean like a rated R rating? So the thing that drives me nuts about this movie, and we actually got a lot of response based on that picture I put up on Facebook, is this movie, it was very clearly rated R. It's not like they hid the fact that it was rated R. They said straight up, they were IDing people unless they were with their parents. I feel like the marketing itself pointed to the fact that, hey, this is definitely rated R. Don't bring your kids to this movie. And that's the reason why I went and saw it at the Alamo Draft House. Because they don't let kids in. I didn't want to deal with any of that. I didn't want to be sitting next to a 11-year-old in the movie because I knew I would enjoy it less because I'd be sitting there the whole time going like, this kid shouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah, and I mean, not only do movies now give you the rating, but they also tell you what's in the movie. And when it says something that it has, sexual content, graphic nudity, violence, and language, I'm like, how much more clear can it be? What do you need to lay it out to tell you that, hey, this is not a movie for kids?
There was somebody on our Facebook page, and I won't call him out but he said, in my defense, there's rated R because a lot of stuff blows up and severed limbs go flying, and there's rated R because we can't take an X rating but still play it in theaters. He says, I'd say Deadpool leans towards the latter, being like more like a rated X movie. And I'm like, first of all, have you ever seen a rated X movie? This was nowhere near a rated X movie. And then, there was like a bunch of conversation. I never replied to it. I was just going to let it go, but he basically got in an argument with some of the other people about, oh, you're a good parent or bad parent and all that baloney. But all I did was I went online and I searched, what is Deadpool rated R for? And the first thing that came up was a picture of Deadpool. And it says, R restricted, strong sexual content, including nudity, dialogue, violence, and language. Like, how much more clearly? So I just posted that picture. And it was just like, it was like a mic drop moment. Like, I don't know what else I could, like, it took me 2 seconds to figure out why it was rated R. So I don't know why they're letting kids into this movie at all anyway, even with their parents. I wish the theaters had some sort of a guideline, kind of like the Draft House has, where they'll let you bring your kids to a rated R movie if you really want to, but you have to go like in during the day or there's only certain days where you can do it, kind of thing.
Right.
I mean, if you're so, and I'm not telling anybody how to raise their kids, but if you're so dead set on taking your kid to a rated R movie, don't take your kid to a rated R movie. Have them watch it at home. I don't care what you do behind your own closed doors. It becomes my business when I have to sit next to them at the movie theater, and it makes me uncomfortable. That's the part I don't understand. It's like, oh, well, I can take my kids to a rated R movie. Yeah, except for you're ruining the experience for everyone else that's there that makes better decisions.
Yeah, I just the fact that it's weird, this discussion about sexuality, sexual content, nudity in regards to violence and language.
Yeah,
we live in a culture where one of them is so taboo and not accepted, whereas in the other one, the more the better. It doesn't matter to me, and I think they're on the same level to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they get a rated R. Something is rated R for the same. You can have a movie that's rated R for sex the same way it's rated R for violence. You know what I mean?
Right. It baffles me how people don't see them in the same light.
Yeah, that one. You're right though. Why is one more taboo than the other? And maybe it's not. Kind of going along with that. Maybe it's not as much that way now as it used to be. Especially if you look back in the 50s, where shows like I Love Lucy. They couldn't even show them, they had to have two separate beds in their bedroom because they didn't even want to imply that they slept in the same bed together. But it's definitely one of those things that's changing, but it's not changing fast enough. And maybe Deadpool, maybe it's a good thing something like Deadpool came along because it has opened that dialogue. We're talking about it. There's been a lot of other people that have been talking about, why is it any different? Why is the violence any more desensitizing than the sex kind of thing, Or or sexual humor. I don't understand what the difference is in sexual humor and gore. It's all the same to me, but I guess it's kind of a good thing that Deadpool is opening up those lines of communication between the media and people on Facebook. A lot of people are discussing it, and I like my friend Barbara. She said on that thing, she said we went last Friday night, and the people next to us brought their children, probably a 9-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy. During the strip club scene, I happened to look over, and the little girl next to me has her arms up to cover her eyes. I felt so bad. And that's one of those things where if I had seen that while I was watching this movie, it would have ruined the movie for me. Because I would just be thinking about, what's going to happen next, that those kids are going to see that they shouldn't. And 2, I'd be thinking about who are these parents that are bringing their kids to this movie. So it would just be, it's one of those things where it's it's a distraction, So that's one of those reasons why I wish that even with parental guidance, bring your kids to a PG-13 movie with parental guidance, but a rated R movie, they shouldn't allow any, it says under 17 requires accompanying parent or adult guardian. They shouldn't let anybody under 17 into rated R, especially one like this. And maybe for that reason, they need to bring back the NC-17 rating.
Yeah, I think the NC-17 rating has negative content or negative connotation, but I feel like it's needed in terms of movies like this. I think you're right. I feel like just the simple fact that parents are taking their kids to it. I don't know.
When people think of NC-17, they think it's going to be pornographic, right?
Right.
And this is not. They think it's going to be like softcore porn. This was not softcore porn, not even close. There was very few things in this that were even pornographic at all, but it was rated R for a variety of reasons. They hit on just about every reason it could be rated R. As a matter of fact, they hit on just about everything.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely brings up a lot of discussions about the rating system. So I don't know. I kind of feel like we could probably talk about that for a whole different show.
Just a whole episode.
The ridiculousness of the MPAA, how, studios have to go to them and say, all right, this is what we have. Let's negotiate, to get that R rating. And I kind of feel like I hate that organization. I hate the process because...
Well, it's usually the other way around, right? Usually they come with a rated R movie and they're trying to strip stuff out to get down to a PG-13.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of a joke to me, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. And and their standards have been sliding anyway. If you look at what like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, like how The Matrix is rated R is beyond me. Compared to the stuff that's out now, Oh yeah. In a world where Star Wars is PG-13, it feels like Star Wars was almost as violent as as The Matrix was, but
Yeah, it's funny when you compare stuff like that. Like, man, some movies get PG-13 when they should be R, and vice versa.
yeah. I don't know. It's kind of they probably have a hard line. I know the people at MPAA probably don't have an easy job because they're basically setting the standards for culture in a sense. It's kind of interesting to see what they choose to do and what they what kind of changes over time. But do you get a chance, Will, to see the Ryan Reynolds? I guess Hugh Jackman was doing some press interviews for what was that movie that he had that came out that nobody went and saw?
I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden.
It's about the
no. It's a movie that's coming out. It's Eddie the Eagle.
That's right, Eddie the Eagle. Apparently Ryan Reynolds somehow got in there as an interviewer, for the press junket, and sat down with Hugh Jackman to ask him a few questions, and this is what he had to say.
Ready?
All right.
You're ready?
We're ready.
Well, this is my first time interviewing someone else. I'm very excited. Some of these questions I may have written before I saw the movie. So the movie's called Eddie the Eagle, and now you play Eddie.
No.
That's right?
No. You did see it, right, man?
Oh, no, I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
Yeah. Come on,
right.
man.
Many actors enjoy performing their own stunts.
Yes.
Do you do all your own acting?
If there's sex scenes, I do them.
Yes. That's where the craft is.
Yeah. It's key to a good marriage.
Did you guys get any notes from the studio to sew Eddie's mouth shut? Make lasers shoot from his eyes?
I didn't, but I thought it'd be a great idea. As a story, it totally makes sense.
100%.
Always.
100%. Do you ever age?
Not since 2008.
You're gorgeous. You're a 2-time Tony winner. You're an Oscar-nominated actor. Now, how much of Hugh Jackman's immense success is raw talent, and how much is just advantageous bone structure?
Thank you. Coming from Sexiest Man Alive, 2012?
10.
10. Oh, we're both
08? Yeah.
We're 08.
We're the old, yeah. We're the old model. I'm going to open this up to a few fan questions here that I got. First one comes from Brian Blenolds from Vancouver, British Columbia. Ooh,
Fantastic.
I love Latin America.
That's amazing.
Brian asks, Hugh, I heard that on X-Men Wolverine, you had specially designed lifts put in your shoes so you would appear taller than one of your co-stars. Is this true or just a silly fact?
It's true. I did.
Next question.
But it was a story reason. Everything in that movie was about story and character.
Story and character.
Advancing it,
Yeah. My next question here is from a Blake Lively from New York City, New York.
Right.
He writes, Hugh, I tried calling you on the burner phone and you didn't answer. Are we still meeting at the Gansevoort Hotel this afternoon? I don't have much time because Ryan's having a mani-pedi from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
I'm having a mani-pedi from 3 to 4.
You're gonna,
That's super weird. Now, this movie is about flying high.
Yeah.
Tell me the last time you experimented with drugs. Which one? How was it? And do you have any right now?
No.
No. I'd love to do just a little bit of scene work, and I'd love to just pick up a few pointers if you're okay with this.
Sure.
What I would love you to do is take this knife and I just hold this, okay?
It's okay.
Okay, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm gonna say something. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna say,
All right.
oh my God, he's got a knife. And now you say.
Yeah. That's not a knife. Now that's a knife.
Yes!
Oh, come on!
Oh! Thank you very much, Hugh Jackman.
My pleasure.
That was honestly, that was my favorite interview I've ever given.
Thank you, Ryan Reynolds. It's the only one you've ever given.
It is, and it will be the last.
So I thought that interview was hilarious. That was I thought it was great that Ryan Reynolds took time out of his day to go troll Hugh Jackman just a little bit.
No, it's awesome. I love it. Like, just their interaction and his just kind of smart ass nature.
Yeah, I mean, it feels a little bit like Hugh Jackman was getting interviewed by Deadpool, but I love that he said to him, "Oh, you mean they didn't make you sew your mouth shut and shoot laser beams from your eyes?" Like, basically making a direct reference to Wolverine, and
right.
I have to wonder, though, the reason that we bring it up is I have to wonder if the reason that Ryan Reynolds went and did that specifically is it felt a little bit like he was asking Hugh Jackman to come be in the next Deadpool movie. And to, this is a good gateway place, basically, where, the studio said they couldn't afford Hugh Jackman, but if Hugh Jackman decides he wants to be in the next Deadpool movie, it will happen.
I say all on board for that, man.
Yeah, so I can't help but wonder if that's why Ryan Reynolds did this, is because he's trying to pique the interest of Hugh Jackman for the next one. And I'd love to see it. I mean, I'd be on board with a rated R Wolverine movie, but even more so than that, I would like to see the Wolverine in the next Deadpool movie.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we were talking about it earlier when we were talking about the budget, or like how they could have put more X-Men in it. I thought they did a good job with what they had in terms of the few little references to Hugh Jackman and to Wolverine that Deadpool makes. I thought that was really funny. I loved when he pulls the mask off and he's wearing the Hugh Jackman face. You know, I thought that was
he stapled it to his own face. That was the best part.
Yeah.
It was like right at the end of like the height of the stress of the movie. Then it's just like they go right back into a joke. You know?
Yeah. Well, something that doesn't dawn on me until now is that he was wearing that Hugh Jackman mask the entirety of his, the whole battle at the very end of the movie.
From the moment he was in the cab with the backpack and all that, when he left the house, he was wearing it from then all the way through the end of the. It's like if he would have died, they would have pulled his mask off and saw him with the Hugh Jackman cover on his face. Yeah. And there at the end of the movie, though, I honestly thought that they were going to kill off the girlfriend. Didn't you think so?
I debated it. I mean, she's definitely kind of like when the tanker was going down. I thought, oh man, she's going to probably die.
Speaking of the tanker, though, was that the Avengers' old helicarrier?
I don't know. I thought it was just like an old like battleship, or like a Navy boat and a Navy ship.
I kept there the whole time thinking that, like, when I was watching it, like, that it was loosely based on, because that ship went down. They built a new one, but somewhere that old version of that ship is just laying there in a ship graveyard, And I wondered, it's kind of like a little shout out to that, I guess, trying to tie the two universes together. But what about you think that the little cabbie, his friend that drives a cab, do you think that he'll be making a return for the next one?
I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny. Like the fact that he kept coming back in the story. I love like when he crashes, or when somebody slams in the back of his car and like his cousin's like in the back. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I really liked it. He was a really like interesting and funny side character, and I think that just goes to show how well written this movie really was.
Yeah, I love that the old blind woman.
Oh yeah,
I love that they didn't explain like where she came from. Like it's just, she was just there,
Well, they didn't need to. It's one of those things where I think a lot of the time they spend too much time explaining when it's not even really necessary, Yeah. Like they just went with the fact, oh, now he's living with a blind lady, and like as an audience member, like, yeah, okay, I can buy that,
Yeah, they'll just roll with it,
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to, make this a 2.5 or 3 hour long movie just to explain every single section and every single plot point, As a matter of fact, Star Wars went the opposite way. They're just like, we're going to leave everything open-ended, and, so that way we can continue discussing it on shows like this. So, anything else you wanted to say about Deadpool before we wrap it up for the week?
I love the movie. I thought it was really good. I'm glad to see it's getting a lot of success, especially at the hand of executives who didn't feel like it could really be successful.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a nice little kind of one up to them, because I hate how the movie industry is a business at times where they don't want, like, it's a weird balance between art and money or business, because it's hard to be able to balance the two. Sometimes you make a movie strictly for the opportunity of making money. But at the same time, in order to make money, you have to make a product that's good and people want to go see. And so that means the art of it has to be good. And so it's always kind of a weird balance to me. And so when executives feel like they don't have to make a movie, or they shouldn't make a movie because they don't think it'll be successful, I don't know. Like I hate that they take the business end of it there, whereas in if they had a little balls and creativity, they could make any movie they want and still be successful with it. So,
well, it goes back to that thing where they made this movie and they made it good in spite of the studio.
Right.
And,
exactly.
if you go back and look at, some of the greatest storytelling that happens, especially in movies, they are usually done with zero support from studios or at the dismay of the studios. I was watching, to go along with this, I was watching a thing a few weeks ago about how Pixar got started with Toy Story. Uh-huh. And John Lasseter said the first version they made of like the first, 30 minutes or so of Toy Story, the studio, Disney, kept telling them to make Woody edgy, and they made him so edgy that he wasn't likable. And they showed it to the executives, and nobody liked it. And, they said Disney was about to shut us down. Pixar was going to end, before it even got started. We wouldn't even know what Pixar was. He says, and we asked for 2 more weeks, and they said, you've got 2 more weeks. And so he said, we went back to the drawing board, and we said, if we could make any movie that we would want to see, what movie would we make? And that's when they wrote what is now Toy Story. And that's
awesome.
I mean, look at George Lucas with Star Wars, the exact same thing. He shopped that thing around to how many studios and nobody wanted it. And so he's like, well, I'm just going to make it then and then try and sell it to somebody, Kevin Smith, same thing. He's made the movie he wanted to see and took it to Sundance, and the rest is history, So there's a lot of cases, and it's really interesting that even now it still happens where studios, in my opinion, for the most part have no idea what the audience wants.
No.
And this movie just goes out to prove that even if your audience is a little bit of a niche audience, it still can be extremely successful, because look at all the money. It's, and they measure everything by money, but they actually made a good movie.
Right,
that's what I measure it by. So anyway, all right, well, we're going to take off for the week. We will catch you guys next week. What do we got coming up for next week's show, Will? Do you know?
I think next week we're talking about we're going to do Deadpool. We did Deadpool today. Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Okay, so I've definitely got to watch the rest of Jessica Jones.
Yeah, because Daredevil season 2 comes out, and the trailer for the new season looks amazing. I am really excited about this. So yeah, we'll talk about Daredevil, which is a great show.
Wait, are we doing that or horror movies?
Oh shoot!
Here, we'll just restart.
Yeah.
What do we got coming up next week?
Oh, dude, I am excited about this. We were talking about horror movies.
Oh, good timing. I really am excited to do this episode. So tune in next week. We're gonna break down some of our favorite horror movies, and that'll be a fun episode. So until next week, I'm Ryan.
I'm Will.
Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always. GeekRevolutionRadio.com.
You've been listening to Geek Revolution Radio, hosted by William Hatton and Ryan Bennett. For more information about Geek Revolution Radio, go to geekrevolutionradio.com. Feel free to interact with the show at facebook.com/geekrevolutionradio. The intro song is called What You Want. The credit song is Riptide. Both are composed by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons. The views and opinions expressed on Geek Revolution Radio are those of the panelists and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of our sponsors. Thank you for listening.